Welcome to Legacy IAS. So this small video is on interpersonal skills. Suddenly 7 questions came in 2026 CSAT. Okay, we won't be studying interpersonal skills comprehensively. That we'll do some other time. Right now our aim is to understand that these 7 questions, if you just think logically, how you can get to the answer in them. Okay, just by your basic understanding of things that you do in gs or otherwise from newspapers, so that we'll be using to see that how you could have done this in the exam hall. Though it is difficult, I understand, because suddenly some new things come, and people who are scared of csat, especially for them, it becomes very difficult or challenging to do it in the exam hall. But now we have time, so we must understand, so that the next time they threw any curveball towards you, you know that it may be very doable. Okay, so for that mindset, let's get started. Now, interpersonal skills. Let's see. So this is the first question from 71 to 77. All these are interpersonal skill questions. Now, let's see the first question. It says consider the following 3 statements. Okay, then these are the 3 statements. Now, in this, what you have to tell is this. Yeah. So which of the following relationship based on the statements given above are correct? Now, these are the 3 statements that are given to you. Now, let's read them. It says protecting the environment is an existential exigency for humans. Okay, existential exigency. Then, given the impact of environmental degradation on climate change. Correct. So basically, it is saying that it is must for human beings to protect the environment for our survival, because it is having very widespread impact. Correct. So must for humans to protect the environment. Then next one is saying scientific consensus has not been achieved with regard to the extent of contribution of human intervention to climate change. So basically it is talking that who is responsible for climate change, and it is saying that there is no scientific consensus as such, that who is the person responsible for, not person as such, but are humans responsible? Is this something that happens naturally in cycle of earth? All that is still questionable, though most of the evidence suggests that human beings are one of the most important causes of it. Then, so second is about this. Then the third statement is environmental activism includes climate alarmism and other extremist point of views. Like some people you must have seen who are just stopping any kind of factory, stopping vehicles that are running on the roads, correct? Those kind of people. So those extremist point of views that comes from these environmental activists sometimes, that often becomes the focus of climate change deniers. Now, because of them, climate change deniers get an opportunity to say that nothing like climate change is really happening. Correct? So, this is about the issue of environmental activist or activism. Correct? This is the main thing that is written in these 3 statements. Must for humans. Then, now let's see the options. Now it says which of the following relationship is based on the given above statements are correct. Now, is S3 a counterpoint to S1? S1 is saying what? That it is must for humans. Correct. S3 is saying that the because of environmental activists, sometimes the climate change deniers get a point to say that they are just causing some extremist point of views. But is it actually denying or saying that it is not important for humans to protect the environment? Not really. Not really. Correct. So first is wrong. Then second, S3 is unconnected to S1 and S2. Now this was a very easy elimination. Even if you don't know anything, if you read these 3 statements, all of them are related to climate change at least. Correct. Then can you really claim this, that S3 is unconnected to S1 and S2? Can you really claim this? No, they're all based on same topic. They have some connection. Correct. that is there. So second is a definite wrong. Now if second is a definite wrong, now see the options. You can remove this, you can remove this, you can remove this also, and the answer becomes 3 only. Now, S2 could be the reason for S3. So basically, S2 was what? That there is no scientific consensus. Now, can scientific consensus not being there? One of the reasons why there are two separate groups called climate activists and climate deniers. Correct? Because there is no scientific consensus. If scientifically we believe in something through all the experiments and everything, then there tends to be very less debates about it. Correct? Like right now we are not debating, right now we are not debating that earth goes around the sun. Anybody is debating this except for some 2 3 great people? There is nobody debating this. Why? Because scientific consensus has been developed. If you remember, during the time of Galileo, there was no scientific consensus on this. They thought that the earth was the center of the universe. Correct? And then there were large group of people who were against this idea. But once scientific consensus developed, then the arguments stopped being. So statement 3 is absolutely correct. S2 could be the reason for S3. Understood? So just by removing this two, right, saying them unconnected when they are on the same topic, you can just eliminate these three statements. You get to the answer. Correct? Now let's look at the next one. Yeah, let's look at this. So basically this is match list 1 and list 2 and select the answer codes. Now first is relationship category and the communication type. Now see, at least some of them you do know. Now for example, see, between judge and lawyers in court, what do you think? What kind of conversation, what kind of communication do they have? Now, are they informal? No. The judge is always like objection overruled, correct? Correct. They call the judge my lord, correct? Now of course this is not something that you call informally, correct? This is very formal, not just formal. How the judge responds to the lawyer, saying objection overruled when somebody is talking. What kind of conversation is this? This is very firm. Somebody was saying something and you said objection overruled, correct? So you stopped him. That is firm. So what kind of conversation is this? Is this informal? No. Is this informal whatever? No. Is this formal and open ended or formal and firm? What do you think? It's firm, correct? So from here you got that A's answer should be 4. At least this you got that A's answer should be 4. Now next, sorry, you got that the B's answer should be 4. That is, between judge and lawyers in a court, it should be formal and firm. Now, then let's see next. Next is, if you see between peers and co-workers, what do you think? How do you talk to your peers? Peers, maybe in your classroom also, those are also your peers, correct? How do you talk to them? Is it formal? Correct? It is not formal. It is very informal. Now, does any of you can pass a judgment on the other? Correct? Pass a like a firm judgment or something that you also have to follow? No. In peers, the peer is all about having an equal relationship. So here it will be informal. Informal first of all. Will it be firm? No. It will be open ended. So D has 2. Just by these two, most probably you will get the answer. But anyway, let's see this. Between cricket captain and team members, what do you think? What kind of conversation? Will it be formal or informal? Have you seen Rohit Sharma talking to his teammates? How does he talk? He talks very formally or informally? He talks informally. That much you understand? Informal, 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 but he also has a lot of power. Correct? So that is why it will be informal and firm. While if you take between vice chancellor and deputy registrar, they are of the same level sort of. So this is formal and open ended. Understood? Now, even if you get confused between let's say A and C, B and D you are very clear about. Correct? B and D you are very clear about. From that only you can get to the answer. Let's see. So now B's, between judge and lawyer you have formal and firm. So B has to be 4. B has to be 4. Which options I have? I have B and C. Correct? Now let's see the other one. D has to be 2. Correct? Between peers and co-workers, informal and open-ended. So D has to be 2. B is 4, D is 2. B is 4, D is 2. Only option B is 4, D is 2, B is 4, D is 2. Answer becomes, can you see? I have not used anything, any communication, this, that, no book, nothing. Just simple logic. Okay, now let's move forward. Let's see this now. Yeah, let's see this. So here, at least some word you might know, like minutes of the meeting you must know. Correct? What were the minutes of the meeting? That is the main crux, the main decisions, whatever was taken in the meeting, that we talk about in the minutes. Now, what you can match it with? Minutes is it about to disseminate non-targeted information? No, this is about once a meeting is done, something is recorded. Now, to intimate a directive? Not really. To inform confidentially? No. Minutes of the meeting are usually published. Then to record decisions. What do you think? Correct? This is what you have in minutes of the meeting. So D has to be 1. D has to be 1. Only 2 options. Correct? Next. Now, any of them, if you know, you can get to the answer. Like, for example, I will give you any of them. For example, you see this. This is what? This is called blind carbon copy. Blind carbon copy, BCC. CC is carbon copy. So basically, when you are mailing somebody and you want some other person also to see that you are mailing this thing to that person, then what you do? You do BCC. BCC, in BCC, he won't get to know the person who is received. Let's say you are A. You're sending a mail to B. Correct? But you want C to also know what mail you are sending to B. Correct? So then you will keep C in BCC. That is blind carbon copy, so that B doesn't get to know about that this message was shared with C, but C gets the message that you sent. This is called blind carbon copy, used for confidentially sending anything. So to inform confidentially. So C2, you can get to the answer, that is C. Correct? Now, let's see, you don't know this. Then let's move forward. Now, flyer, what do you think? Flyer means, doesn't it seem like something you fly around, or you just give this information just generally to everybody? Correct? Then now, flyer is to disseminate non-targeted information. Can you send anything? Flyer means what? You're just flying the information. Correct? So wouldn't it be non-targeted? Correct? Seems correct. So B is 4. Now, if you don't know this also, then you can go with memorandum also. So memorandum is what? Basically, memorandum means is made from memory. So basically, your memorandum is something that should be remembered. So between departments, okay, you might have heard of memorandum of understanding. Correct? Correct. So basically, this is all about simple directives between two entities to intimate a directive. So if you know minutes and any of them, then you can get to the answer. Same A3, B4, C2, D1. Fine. Now, see this again. Fairly easy, just read it. Which of the following actions would constitute the most appropriate directive in resolving interpersonal conflict in an office with culturally diverse personnel? Now, what kind of personals are there? Culturally diverse. That means somebody may be from South India. In South India, also, he may be from Tamil Nadu, from Kerala, somebody is from Uttarakhand, somebody is from Northeast, somebody is from Rajasthan. Correct? Culturally very diverse personnel. Now, if you have such an office, but one thing you will always want in your office is the things that are required from your business point of view, that should go as it is. That should not depend that Pahadi people usually like to wake up in the morning, so they will conduct their meeting in the morning. Okay, Southern people will do it in the evening. No, meetings has to be at a particular time. For that, you can't be culturally diverse. Correct? So it is all about managing things while maintaining a core philosophy in your organization. Then direct personnel to practice activities that are cultural markers of diverse group. So they can do any activity. Do you think this will be okay in an office environment? Of course not. Culturally, like, there are places in northeast that do very different things culturally, correct? Now they cannot start doing this in the office, correct? Similarly, people in the north also do something that cannot be done in office here. Same way then, so this is wrong. Allow conflicts to, so basically this is too vague, correct? Then allow conflicts to resolve naturally over time to set an appropriate precedent of leadership. Don't do anything. Apna dekh lenge. They will see on their own. Correct? Is this the right approach to be a leader? No. This is too passive. You are not doing anything. You are saying देखी जाएगी, let them do, let them handle. Then encourage personnel to seek each other's perspective. What do you think? Because they come from diverse cultural background, you need to understand, each one of them should understand the perspective of the other so that the conflicts can be resolved. Isn't this very logical? Third seems correct. Now 1 and 2 is wrong, third is correct. Answer becomes C, 3 only. Fine, simple. Now let's go. Yeah, let's see this one. So this is about barrier to communication and example of this. What are the different barriers to communication with respect to, and you have to match it with their examples. Now, if you have done something in ethics, okay, then if somebody had prepared ethics before prelims, it was very helpful. 3-4 questions of ethics were there, direct case studies. These words also you study in ethics. Okay, now let's see them. So semantic, cognitive, organizational, affective. Now cognitive, you understand, correct? Cognitive ability. We study this in artificial intelligence also. Cognitive means what? That how much is the processing capability, correct? So if somebody is said to be cognitively very superior, very strong, that means he has very high processing capability. So what can be a barrier to cognitive communication? What can be a barrier? Example can be, will it be lack of feedback? No. Misunderstanding the meaning of a word? Not really. Fear of social stigma? Not really related to social stigma. Information overload. What do you think? Brain process nahi kar pa raha, brain is not braining, correct? That is the issue with cognitive, correct? So B has to be 4. Now if B has to be 4, your options are either B or D. These two are gone. Now let's see. Organizational is very easy. You understand, organizational means something that will have hierarchy, correct? And in that, what you want, see, is there fear of social stigma in organizational? Not really. Then misunderstanding the meaning of a word? Not really. But lack of feedback is a major issue in an organization. You ask somebody to do something, then they don't do, and you don't take feedback, then what happens? The work is not done. That is why constant feedback is one of the important points that you always write in case studies. Correct? When you're resolving case study, you say that this action I will ask to be taken by the authorities at the district level, and then I will take regular feedback on it. So organizational, lack of feedback. From C1 only you can get to the answer. No, not really. So B and D also have same. Then let's go next. Let's say you know about effective. Effective, effective is again a word that you learn in ethics that is related to emotions or some attributes. Okay, so this is effective. Now what do you think? What is emotions or some attributes will be related to? It will be related to fear of social stigma, correct? So D is 3. Then semantic. Now if you know this word, it was all very easy. Semantic, so basically sometimes when people argue, we say that you always go in the semantics of the word. Okay, you are more focused on the semantics than semantics than on the real meaning of something, correct? So basically this semantic actually means is related to what is the literal word, what is the meaning of it, misunderstanding of a particular word, that is called semantic, correct? So answer becomes for this, misunderstanding the meaning of a particular word, correct? So A becomes 2, A becomes 2, that means D is the answer. Understood? Simple. Okay, that is why you need to know 2 3 words. If you have done ethics well, then you can do it. Otherwise, this is the first question that I will say that may become difficult for you. Then now let's see this. This is also very logical. You don't need any course, this, that for this. Now you are required to design a questionnaire, okay, to be filled on location. They have come to the location by visitors based on the following objective while writing a report. Now you, so what you are writing report for? To determine the feasibility of setting up a family oriented vacation resort in the vicinity of a lake destination in the mountains. So it's a lake destination near the mountains. You are trying to understand what is the feasibility of setting up a family oriented vacation. Correct? This is in the vicinity of a lake. Correct? Now, what should be there in your questionnaire? So it is a general questionnaire for the visitors. Correct? To understand that can we set up a family oriented resort or something here. Now, which of the following would you include in the questionnaire to make it most appropriate for the purpose? Now, size of the family, does it matter? Yes. What if it's a whole big Gujarati family or some Punjabi family which has like 80 90 people? How you manage them? Correct. So size of family, of course, important. Budget is very important. Correct. You all know why budget is important. Correct. Money decides what kind of facilities should be given to you or are asked by you. Then number of earners in the family. Do you care? Have you ever gone to a hotel where they have asked you that how many people in your family work? No. They tell this much money from wherever you work. All of you are jobless, but you have this money maybe from some muavza. Muavza is basically compensation, land compensation. If from that also you have gotten money, they don't care. So number of earners in the family, not important. Then food allergies and dietary restrictions. Now, food allergy and dietary restrictions. What do you think? Don't you think food allergy, dietary restriction will be very specific to a family? Correct. Now, for that, you cannot really design anything. For example, one family comes, in that one person says that I am lactose intolerant. Other family will come, or in that family only, there may be somebody who is intolerant towards any kind of gluten, some with some kind of seeds, anything can be there. So if you are seeing at a whole level, at a large level, this is something that is very specific that you can try to arrange, but you don't design things according to it. Correct? Have you ever seen hoteliers thinking about what kind of people with what allergies may come? Correct? So it is a very rare thing that you deal with it right on there when you deal with this problem, but not really an important question. So what you got? 3 you had to eliminate, 3 you eliminated, and 4 also you eliminate. Answer becomes 1 and 2 only. Fine, simple. Then let's do the last question and we'll be done. Now, again, fairly simple. With reference to circular letters, which of the following statements is are correct? Circular letters. Now, where have you heard this word circular? So you might have heard that in your organization a circular is passed, correct, to do this. Correct. Now, if you have not been in an organization, you must have heard something known as RBI circular that keeps getting released for the banks, and that we also study about repo rates with respect to repo rates, reverse repo rates, okay, with respect to what are the quantitative or qualitative methods that should be adopted by banks. All those come by RBI circular. Correct. Now, do you think RBI circular is very specific to a particular bank, or circulars are something that has to be circulated everywhere? It has been made from circulate, so you want it to circulate everywhere without any specific thing for a particular bank or specific thing for a particular person. So circulars by its nature, by the word breakdown only, you understand, is not personalized, it's general in nature. Now let's start doing. Circular letters are usually addressed to a group of people, okay. Then, non-standard and customized content is typical of circular letters. Do you think customized content will be given and non-standard? Is this some greeting card? that you're giving to your loved one? No. Correct? So this is wrong. Then circular letters are used to intimate appraisals and increments of employees within the organization. Now, won't appraisals and increments be very specific to an employee? Correct? Again, it is talking about something very customized or personalized. Circular are not related to it. Then circular letters are less cost effective than personalized and specific recipient directed letters. Is this less cost effective? No, this is more cost effective. What RBI does not send any kind of letters, anything to the banks. It just releases a circular. Correct? That from now this has to be followed. Correct? Some rule change. Now this is much more cost effective because you're not sending things personalized. Then you have to send a person or you have to send it by post. Nothing. No cost incurred here. Very low cost. Correct? So this is also wrong. Now, of course, this is correct. These three are wrong. What becomes the answer? The answer to this question becomes one only. Understood? Only thing that you wanted, that they wanted to check is, do you understand what might be circular? If you just read the four statements, try to think, then you can guess and connect it to RBI circular. Okay, so when we do term based questions in science and tech, I always talk about that. If you don't know a term, you think in terms of homonyms, or from where, or from in what topic you have heard a similar term. Correct? And that is how you make connections. Here, if you can make connection, you can get to the answer. I am not saying that you should have done them all correct in the exam hall. That is very difficult, but at least 2 3 4 questions you could have done. Okay, and that is the whole point, that you should maintain your temperament, have a good temperament in the exam hall. That will be very important for CSAT as well as GS going forward. So hopefully you learned something from this. That's it. Thank you.